Okay. So apparently Trump got some plans. I'm gonna do a little inception. I'm gonna react to Asman reacting to this, and I'm just gonna talk as if I'm talking to Asman and you guys at the same time.
Trump is he's coming out with some plans. This is the time where you can say elections have consequences. Yeah, based. Yeah, I mean, obviously this is what's going to happen, right? But here we go. Let's take a look at it.
As part of my plan to secure the border on day one of my new term in office, I will sign an executive order making clear to federal agencies that under the correct interpretation of the law, going forward, the future children of illegal aliens will not receive automatic U.S. citizenship. It's things like this that bring millions of people to our country, and they enter our country illegally. As part of my plan to
So you have this one, and it goes even farther.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on our national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there's. Families can be deported together.
Ooh. 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 I don't know what's harder. What he said or the way he said it. Cause there was like a I don't give a F. Like like, bro, it doesn't matter to me. I'm done. I'm over it. That was the kind of energy that I got from that. Oh, yeah, of course there is. Families could be deported together. Sheesh.
We are in for a wild ride. Yeah, he's not wrong. Yeah, no, he's not wrong. Wow. Send him home? Yeah, content for days? No, this is going to be a crazy fucking 4 years, man. There's another one.
News, the mayor just announced that the city will no longer issue vouchers to migrants to pay for food, ending a controversial program that had repeatedly come under attack by conservatives and others.
This pilot program in New York City, drenched in both humanity and controversy, distributed debit cards to migrant families staying in city-funded hotels and allowing them to buy their own food. Eyewitness News reporter Josh Einier following the breaking news for us. Josh?
Well, Bill, it's a program that, as you say, generated plenty of controversy, but now its absence may raise even more questions. The so-called Immediate Response Cards pilot program was designed to help feed migrant families who'd found themselves in New York with no way to afford food. The one-year contract provided what the city described as culturally relevant food to 2,600 migrant families, allowing them to basically buy what they wanted.
Yep.
A family of four with two kids under 5 got about $350 per week to cover food in a program the city said would actually save taxpayers millions a year. It also reduced food waste. You may remember the food the city had been providing in migrant shelters was seen as not culturally sensitive to the needs of some migrant groups, and it ended up just going to waste. For more than a year, the city was groaning under the weight of more than 200,000 asylum seekers. Officials say the migrant population has actually reduced lately. In fact, a massive shelter on Roosevelt Island
is insane. Yep.
In the process of closing. In the meantime, Mayor Adams...
Did they say $350 a week? My mom used to get $200 a month on food stamps. Obviously, this was the year 2011 or 12. A bit different prices then. But that was what we used to get.
I mean, $350, I mean, I know me alone, I spent on average about... I want to say on average about $20 a day on food. And that's just me. So a week, that's $140. Let's just say $150. That's for one person. This is a family of 4. Somewhere around $350 for a family of 4. I mean, I guess that's reasonable. I guess, you know. I mean, I don't know if that's shit. Is that enough, or is that? I mean, that should be enough if you're like cooking. But if you're just eating out, that's the thing. I eat out a lot, so that's why I spend so much. If I was cooking, I wouldn't spend $140 a week on food if I was cooking. So if you're cooking, I guess $350 a week, that should be more than enough. But if you're eating out all the time, you know, McDonald's, Popeyes, whatever, then that'll definitely run you.
On the phone yesterday with President-elect
I got like
Donald
160.
Trump, who had vowed during his campaign to mass deport migrants. Aside from congratulating him on his win, though, Adams today would not say what they discussed.
Yep. There it is. And so you're seeing, obviously, this is getting shut down. And, man.
Here's my plan to dismantle the deep state and reclaim our democracy from Washington corruption once and for all. And corruption it is.
And the thing is that I think that a lot of conservatives don't really want to say, and this is what's happening, right, is that this is kind of the entire, like, understanding of what an Overton window is that it's like the idea of, like, things that are acceptable to be stated in public and not be immediately, like, repudiated for. The idea that somebody can say that, how do you deal with...
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
This would be probably unthinkable to say 10 years ago. And now, oh boy. People are fed up? Yeah, people are fed up. And I think that the optics of saying that is probably not very great. It doesn't sound like a good thing to say. But once enough people start saying it, then everybody starts saying it. Because that's what people really believe. No, I didn't believe that? Okay. All right. Just racists say that? You are not going to get people... Like, that doesn't work anymore. That doesn't work when you say that racists are saying it, and then you have record numbers of minorities that are voting for it. Just doesn't work. I understand it's like this is... And it's been very effective, to be fair. Okay, and yeah, and also, like, yeah, people don't really give a shit. So, yeah, it just doesn't work.
I feel like the people that don't give a shit are the people who this doesn't affect. Meaning either you was born here and your parents were born here, or maybe your parents migrated here, but they migrated here legally. So if you was born here after they migrated here, it seems like that doesn't affect you, because if your family came here legally, then you don't have to worry about any issues as far as deportation goes. So, because I was just thinking to myself, like, I know my parents, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they came here legally. I think my dad came here first, and then he got my mom and my brother here. And then me, I was born here. So I would figure, I'm safe from this. So it's like me hearing that guy say, yeah, we'll just get them all out of here, get the whole family out of here if they want to go. Like, I'm thinking like, damn, that sounds harsh. But at the same time, it's like, it doesn't affect me. So it's like I don't feel like stressed about that idea. Because obviously me being a citizen, them deporting people, it's from what they're saying, it's supposed to like benefit me in some type of way. But at the same time, I'm thinking like, for the people who this affects, that sounds scary, bro. So for the people who this affects, whose parents came here illegally, and then they had kids, and then now you're here, you're like 10, 15 years old maybe, and your parents came here illegally. They probably still don't speak English. They probably still never tried to learn English. That's probably a scary, scary thing to hear. You've been here for how many years, and now it's possible that you're gonna get sent back to a country that you don't even know anything about because you never lived there. That sounds crazy.
The strat was nerfed? Yeah, I'm sorry to say.
First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively.
We are in for 4 years of some of the best content that I think we've seen in a long time. You guys have to understand that back when Trump was originally the president, there were like a lot of checks and balances that he had. And now all those checks and balances, they're all on his side. He's going to kill us all, smiley face. Oh, see what's going to happen. People literally die, free content. I think that, well, yeah, I mean, for sure, right? I mean, of course, like and by the way, every news station thinks this. I understand that there's like news stations that try to make themselves out like, oh yeah, we don't care about this. News stations love plane crashes. They love like, mass shootings. Of course. Yeah, that's how they make their money.
Second, we will clean out all of the corrupt actors in our national security and intelligence apparatus, and there are plenty of them. The departments and agencies that have been weaponized will be completely overhauled so that faceless bureaucrats will never again be able to target and persecute conservatives, Christians, or the left's political enemies, which they're doing now at a level that nobody can believe. Even
I do think that, like, them going after Trump and trying to prosecute him for all these crimes, I think that, and I said it back then, I said that it was a huge mistake. Because all it does is it paints him out as a martyr, and it's kind of like the, what's the quote? If you come at the king, you better not miss. They missed too many fucking times. And now he's going to do the same thing. And the thing is that, like, there's no moral authority to say, oh, this isn't what's going to happen. Yeah, it's revenge. And also, like, I do think that, again, people won't say this, but there is a massive contingency of Trump voters and Trump supporters that feel like they've been marginalized from, like, not only, you know, like, economically, but society-wide, where, like, you're not supposed to say that you like Trump, you're not supposed to say that, you know, you think this or that other thing, and these people have been oppressed in their mind, whether you believe this to be true or not. Like, again, and I'm going to get into a lot of trouble for saying this, okay? But we love that, don't we? Do you remember when I said that I can very well easily understand why young guys in, like, the Middle East joined ISIS? I can easily understand that. Even though I don't agree with them, even though I think they might be wrong, I can see, okay, if this is the way that you live, these are your material conditions. Yeah, I can see how you go from point A to point B. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So when I'm discussing this, in a lot of cases, I'm not even really talking about whether I think it's a good idea or not. I'm saying that if enough people believe in something like this, it becomes real. And it's real to them. And if something is real to them, then for all intents and purposes, they're going to act like it's real. And nobody has a monopoly on reality. So these people can invent their own reality and act on it, and you can't really stop them. You see kind of what I'm saying? I don't think it's the same, Asmon. No, it is. It is. People get oppressed, and the oppression, the perceived oppression, radicalizes them. It's absolutely true. Most people that do things that are really bad do them as a result of a perception of oppression. Now, sometimes the perception is accurate. Sometimes it's not. But the one thing that's almost always there is that there is a perception. It's that simple.
Impossible. Third, we will totally reform FISA courts, which are so corrupt that the judges seemingly do not care when they are lied to in warrant applications. So many judges have seen so many applications that they know were wrong.
I wonder what one of those applications for one of those people could have. I wonder who that's going to be. Video's eye contact feature. Remind me about that later. I'll look at it.
Nothing about it. They're lied to. Fourth, to expose the hoaxes and abuses of power that have been tearing our country apart, we will establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to...
I hear the Halo music playing in my mind. I do. You guys have to understand that there is a probability that Barron Trump came up with this name because he played Halo 1. And he said, Dad, you should call it this.
Tearing our country apart, we will establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying, censorship, and corruption. And there are plenty of them.
I think that's good. I feel like a lot of people need to understand, like, when the government, and this isn't really anything that's new. I think that the government has exercised this power for a really long time, and I think it's created a massive sense of distrust with the government. Huge, huge distrust.
Fifth, we will launch a major crackdown on government leakers who collude with the fake news to deliberately weave false narratives and to subvert our government and our democracy.
This is one that I completely disagree with. And I really hope that people talk to him and tell him not to do this. Because you need whistleblowers, because the reason why we know a lot of these bad things happened are because of those whistleblowers. Like Snowden, like Julian Assange. Like, it's a slippery slope? Yeah, exactly. Like, I really disagree with this, and I hope that he doesn't do this. This is really, really bad.
When possible, we will press criminal charges. Sixth, we will make every Inspector General's office independent and physically separated from the departments they oversee, so they do not become the protectors of the deep state. Seventh, I will ask Congress to establish an independent auditing system to continually monitor our intelligence agencies to ensure they are not spying on our citizens.
That's his background music, by the way. It's not like I'm playing background music. No, he's doing that for himself.
Yo, I was just thinking to myself, like, where's this music from? Is it from a game? Like, he said Halo. I'm thinking, like, is it from, like, some Halo shit? Like, for real, for real? Oh, my God.
Or running disinformation campaigns against the American people, or that they are not spying on someone's campaign like they spied on my campaign.
Right.
Eighth, we will continue the effort
Where did the
launched
music
by
go?
the Trump administration to move parts of the sprawling federal bureaucracy to new locations outside the Washington swamp. Just as I moved the Bureau of Land Management to Colorado, as many as 100,000 government positions could be moved out, and I mean immediately, of Washington to places filled with patriots who love America.
Oh,
They
boy.
really do love America. Ninth, I will work to ban federal bureaucrats from taking jobs at the companies they deal with and that they regulate. So they
No, wait. Now, that music is not from Trump. No way. That gotta be Asman. And I see in the chat they're saying like Hans Zimmerman type of music. I'm like, this sounds like some Batman, like Hans Zimmerman, like some Inception type of music. Is that wait? Is that why I keep seeing who is this guy? This looks like an like a director or something. Is that the guy who did what's that movie? The Killers of the Flower Moon. Scorsese, is that Martin Scorsese? Right here? It looks like him, right? The guy who did Heat, the movie Heat. You know, with Robert De Niro and you know the guy who plays the actor who does Scarface.
That is a huge fucking W. Oh my God.
Well, what's a W?
Washington to places filled with patriots who love America.
Oh,
They
boy.
really do love America. Ninth, I will work to ban federal bureaucrats from taking jobs at the companies they deal with and that they regulate. So they
That is a huge fucking W. Oh my God. Wow. Yep.
deal with these companies and they regulate these companies and then they want to take jobs from these companies.
Yep.
It doesn't work that way. Such a public display cannot go on, and it's taking place all the time like with Big Pharma. Finally, I will push a constitutional amendment to oppose term limits on members of Congress. This is how I will shatter the deep state and restore government that is controlled by the people and for the people. Thank you very much.
There it is. And so this was made, like, he recorded these kind of a while ago, but I think now that he's like, you know, now that he won, everybody is like looking back on it and they're like, oh shit, like all of these are going to happen. And do you agree? With some things, yeah, he's going to get assassinated. If they assassinate Trump, then JD Vance is just going to do the same thing. And also, like, guess what happens when they assassinate him? Then everybody is going to go and be like, oh my God, now they're actually trying to kill us, and they're going to be way more militant than they've ever been. The worst thing that can happen is for him to get assassinated, because it turns him into a martyr. And I think that's the same thing that like all those trials did too. Yeah, they tried twice. That helped him win. Yeah, I think so too. Trump said he could use active military for mass deportations. Well, yeah, of course he's going to do that. I think that, again, this is the problem that a lot of people have, is that the I don't think that they want to come to the terms that, like, that's what people voted for. I think that there's a huge contingency of people that that's what their goal is. They want that. I saw another one, use military to repel an invasion. This is an invasion. Yeah, I mean, there it is. The people saying good don't understand the slippery slope. I think that it can be very problematic too. I think that you're totally right. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Because if there's enough people that support it, then it happens.
Just to go back to Susie for a second, the fact that he got to this first, and the fact that she is going to have, you know, influence over how the rest of this transition unfolds, whether it's picking Attorney General or any of these other high-level positions, I think we ought to all look at this as a wise decision, a good decision, and for everybody out there wanting Trump to pivot or change or somehow whatever you want him to do, he just won a mandate from the American people to execute on the program that he laid out in this election. It wasn't particularly close. And I think he ought to put people in place who are going to do it. That's what the people
go
asked
after his
for.
enemies. I mean, that's
not what he ran on.
Yes, he did.
See, he can't say this, but I think that if you go down and you interview a bunch of Trump voters, I think that they absolutely want Trump to weaponize the government to attack the people that attacked him. I think that's exactly what they want him to do, because that's what people wanted to do to Trump. Do it? Yeah. And so, like, and you can't say this because it sounds bad to say. I think that's what's going to happen.
It is explicitly.
Wait, is he talking about when Trump was being tried for the so-called crimes that led up to him obviously getting back into running for president, basically. When he had like, what was it? It's like 40 something. I forgot what the number of infractions or whatever it was that they was blaming him for or accusing him of. And are they saying that Trump, now that he's president, he's going to retaliate somehow? He's going to use the same government to retaliate against those people that was trying to get him up out of there, that was trying to get him jailed? I can't blame him for that. And I think that's what he was saying in that little speech. He's like, I'm doing this. Number 1, I'm doing this. Number 2, I'm doing this. I'm also doing this. Number 3, number 4, I'm going to be doing this. Number 5, I'm going to be doing this. It sounded like he was mentioning a lot of things that may be something that has been created. Like these, I feel like a lot of those things was created based off of how he was attacked. That's what I was getting from what I was listening to.
That's not what he ran on.
Look at what he said in the past week. He literally said that he was going to exact vengeance.
You still don't understand how you lost. He ran on immigration.
Don't say me. I'm not a
he ran on immigration.
It's, I think that's it. People want catharsis. People want revenge. And I think that people see Trump getting convicted of like 34 felonies and they think that it's bullshit.
34.
And so they're like, okay, everybody's conspiring against this guy. Well, let's get together and we're going to do the same thing back to them. I think that's what happens. And so, instant regret on her part? Yeah, there you go. He was kind once, he got backstabbed, so he ever wants him to take revenge this time? Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Not revenge, retaliation. Yeah, and I think that the problem is that, like, it's still not really acceptable for people to, like, say that, but I actually do think it's a huge reason why a lot of people voted for him, is they explicitly want him to do that.
I could see that.
Can't wait till poor people in the Midwest suffer from tariffs. It's real catharsis. Reap what you sow. I mean, again, all I'm saying is I think that's what's happening. Isn't that super fucked up? People used to bring their families to watch lynchings. That doesn't matter. Like, people are more than willing to do something that's horrible if they think that they're doing it for the right reason. Like, this is nothing compared to that.
He ran on inflation.
I'm not here paying
one of the many things he ran on in addition
he ran on the issues that people care about. He ran on the economy.
And nobody's saying that he didn't run on those things, but he also ran on vengeance.
Yes.
He did also run on going after the people who went after him.
And journalists.
It was a key feature of all of his speeches.
Yes, Scott, he literally said, I am your retribution, the Biden crime family, lock her up. Went after Sessions repeatedly for not doing what he wanted Sessions to do, which was to indict Hillary or whoever he wanted to.
I think that if Trump's first candidacy resulted in Hillary Clinton being in jail, there would have been a higher chance that he got reelected. I think that's what would, I actually think it would have massively increased it.
Can want his campaign to have been about, tax reform and things like that. That is not what he said on the stump, time after time after time. He talked about going after his enemies.
I'm heartened by the fact that the left still cannot do
A lot of people that are bringing up the tariffs and everything, I think that a lot of you guys don't understand the fact that the average American doesn't understand what a tariff is or how it works. I think that if you were to ask how many people understand tariffs that are voters, I would say 5% or less. Yeah, probably about 5% or less. So that wasn't really the reason. Less than 1%? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely pretty bad. But I think that's really what's happening here.
Just take the January 6th part of it. He made that a big part of his campaign, that he would, if he were in power, pardon those people. You can't say that that was not on the agenda. It absolutely was.
What was the campaign about? Why did...
Because this is the way that I think a lot of conservatives see it, is that they see, like, for example, like all of like the BLM riots from back then, and then they saw that a lot of those people seemingly didn't get in trouble, and they weren't dealt with in the way that I think a lot of people wanted them to be dealt with. And I think that now they look at January 6th as like, okay, well, this was our bad thing that we did, but we're getting punished and you're not. So that's why people support letting the January 6 people go. It's simple tribalism. That's it. That's the reason. Because, like, I don't think they should be let go. Absolutely not. But you can see very easily how a person comes to that conclusion. It's obvious.
Okay, but do you think that
millions
he's
of
going to do
people.
those other things when it comes to the Department of Justice?
I don't know what he's going to do. I'm not.
A
I don't
big
talk
part of
to
the
him.
campaign was being a victim. Like, that was a big part of it, was his victimhood. They're coming for you, but they're going to have to get through me. That was his whole line. That is all about the enemies list. That is all.
She's exactly right. She's completely right. He's going to play it down, but they're right. The problem is that everybody knows that, and they voted for it.
I totally disagree.
The deep state.
That's
this is the stuff that he talked about on the stump. Unless you just don't want to listen to him. Those are his own words.
I listen
Scott,
plenty.
If you believe that people who violated the Capitol on January 6th committed a crime, which I would hope you would, because they weren't invited in the way they claimed they were, right? They were not there. They didn't go through security the way the rest of us have to go through to get into the Capitol. They were prosecuted. They were convicted. And now they're serving jail time. And he has said repeatedly that they're political prisoners and he is going to spring them, right?
Yeah, of course.
What does that tell you about how he's going to weaponize the Justice Department, and on whose behalf? On behalf of people who committed crimes for him, not for anybody else.
I mean,
Exactly. That's why he's going to spring them. It's because they're on his side. Like, I think that a very big problem that a lot of the media has is that the media relies on optics in order to push people to opinions that they don't actually have. And the big issue is that the average person might not say this, but the average person thinks it. And that's why you see a lot of dissonance whenever you look at polls versus actual voting behavior. It's because people say things that sound good, but then they actually go to vote, and then they vote for something that's a lot worse. That's society? Yeah. Because polls aren't random? Yeah. Mainstream media tells you who you should be mad at? Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, what Democrats have weaponized justice system for years. It's time for them to play defense. Well, like, your comment here, like, by the way, like, weaponizing the justice system is bad, right? It's bad whoever's doing it. However, this is what people think, and that's what they're voting on. That's the reason. And so I actually think it is that simple in a lot of cases. So getting inside a building illegally is worthy of jail, but getting inside a country is not. I mean, I'm not making this argument. I'm not saying that. I mean, you want to argue with them, go ahead. But, like, I'm saying that I think that there's a lot of, like, unspoken truth and unspoken reality that mainstream media and a lot of people, even on the internet, are unwilling to approach. And I think that also people think that simply repudiating it and saying that it's bad or that it's evil is enough to just make it stop happening. I don't think that's the case, and I think that it's very obvious that's not the case. So the problem is that people, like, and this is the issue, is that media is built around optics. It's not built around reality, and it's not really built around policy. I think that if you were to poll a lot of average, like, if you were to look at the amount of Trump voters that there were, and you were to ask them, would you be okay with mass deportations, even deporting children that have been born here that have birthright citizenship? I think that you would get a supermajority of yeses. If you could read their minds. They might not say it publicly, but if you could read their minds, I think you would get a lot of yeses.
I admire your, I don't know if I want to call it naivete or optimism, that Trump is going to run on the policies you care about deregulation and tax cuts and whatnot. That's just not what his campaign was about.
Well,
That's not what he has indicated.
With all due respect, I've run more campaigns than you, and I know what campaigns are about, and I know why people walk into voting booths.
Why people walk into voting booths and what Trump plans to do when handed the presidency are two different things.
Yep, there it is. And so people are getting real mad about this. That's what his campaign was about. Yeah. And according to CNN, they're brainwashed because they don't understand what they want. What was it about then? And bad argument, but he's not wrong. Americans are afraid to say that they want a dictator or president as either liberal or Republican, since both parties only care about their side winning instead of policies. Yeah, I think exactly. And he's still in campaign mode. Yeah. And she's obviously unhinged. I think the problem is that the big issue is that, like, a lot of conversations about this are built around, like, kind of how it sounds to say a certain thing in a certain way. But I don't think that average people care about that optics as much as I would say, like, media does. Yeah, and I think that, like, this sentiment here is exactly why people don't care about January 6th. It's because they're also disingenuous. They're crying about January 6ers going free. When they set 2020 rioters free, January 6ers didn't burn entire cities to the ground. And the truth is that no matter what you think about this statement, whether you think this is a true statement or not, this is an opinion that is shared by enough people that it can shift the election. And if enough of those people get together, this opinion becomes the rule. And that's it. And so the problem is that a lot of people think that they can, like, kind of bully people out of, like, these types of opinions. It isn't an opinion, it's a fact. I don't think it's that simple. Just for the record, I don't think this is a good faith evaluation. However, That being said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because if other people think that, then that's all there is to it. How much damage does the riot cause? Why? Why do I think it's not a good faith evaluation? Because tons of people got arrested in the riots. Like, literally hundreds, if not thousands of people got arrested in the riots. Some of them went free, some of them didn't go free. A lot of them were charged with crimes, and they did get in trouble. Tons? Yeah, I guarantee you. Like, the riots were massive. Of course they arrested tons of people. And it's the same as also not every single person in January 6th got arrested either. That's really the difference. Most went free. Yeah, I bet probably a lot of the people from January 6th went free too. Like, that's... They got bailed out? Yeah, I mean, Is this not true? No shit? Yeah. Yeah, I'm very confused. January 6th only if you went in the Capitol? Yeah. I'm very confused here. 14,000 people got arrested during BLM? Yeah, that's a lot of people. This chat's so lost. The problem is that I think people are so ideologically captured by certain points of view that they're unwilling to cede any ground or to look at anything that doesn't completely agree with them as being legitimate at all. And I think this is like, this radicalization has happened, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse. Chat's past cooked. Yeah, it is. And I don't really have a problem with this, guys. Again, people can disagree all you want. Like, if you're insulting or hostile or rude, then you'll get banned. But if you just want to voice disagreement, then that's fine. The point is that I think a lot of people have become so radicalized by this that anything that they hear that is even 1% off of what they believe to be true, they just lose their minds. They, like, even, and this happens with left-wing people too, right? Like, for example, if you're pro-trans, but you don't think that, you know, trans women should compete against biological women, you're seen as a transphobe. You can be pro-trans,
Really?
but if you don't think that, you know, trans women should use women's bathrooms, you're like a TERF, right? That's what happened to J.K. Rowling. So the problem is that there are...
I mean, the whole trans thing, I think the trans community and all that, I think that stuff is fine. I don't have any issues with that, like, at all, like that, the slightest. Like, if you want to, you know, if you feel like you should have been born a woman, if you feel like you, I don't know, what they call it? I heard someone say, phrase it as born in the wrong body. And you want to make some customizations to allow yourself to look the way you see yourself, I mean, go ahead. I don't see anything wrong with that. Like my what do you call it? Like, the way I view things is you can do whatever you want to do as long as you're not hurting anybody else in the process. It should be fine. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of people have that same motto, you know? And the reason why I say that is because he's saying, you know, trans people getting in sports with non-trans. So if you have like a, you know, someone who was technically born a man, and then let's say by the age of like 13, they decide, hey, I don't want to be a man, I feel like I'm more of a girl, and they decide to start taking hormones or whatever the case is. You know, they start changing their appearance, and then when they're like 19 years old, they're in the Olympics or whatever, and they want to take on a sport, a physical sport, even worse, like a combat sport. You have like a man who transitioned into a female, who was fighting a female. Like, I think that's where I kind of draw the line on certain things. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Imagine LeBron James is like, you know what? Yeah, I retired from the NBA, but you know what? I've been feeling like I haven't really been who I truly see myself to be. And then LeBron James comes out saying that he's a transgender athlete. He decides to start wearing wigs or whatever. And let's say he decides, like, you know what? I think I got a couple more years in me. And he decides to hop into the WNBA. Right, you saw where that was going. As soon as I said LeBron James, you saw where that was going. Imagine LeBron James decided to switch up his gender. he's like 39, 40 years old, but he hops into the WNBA at like 40 years old. He starts dunking on these WNBA players. You don't think that's gonna be a problem, bro? Of course that's gonna be a problem. You know what I mean? He's gonna go over there and be the best there ever was. So there gotta be some type of like, there gotta be some kind of law to like, hey, I mean, if you're gonna do that, there should be the same way you have men's sports, women's sports, or men category, women category. There should be a transgender category where, hey, you can face off against other transgender people if it's like a physical sport. If it's like a physical, something where strength and I guess agility, I guess whatever, where physicality can actually be a benefit, can be an advantage. Like it should be set like rules for that, like who can partake in whichever event. You know what I mean? Who can you like compete against? You know, if it's like boxing, MMA, basketball, I think there should be some kind of set of rules.
Or like these infinite purity tests. Zach, you've created an echo chamber. How could it be possible that I created an echo chamber when we're talking about everybody in chat disagreeing? Has it ever occurred to you that maybe that's illogical? Yeah. Somebody says that I don't really know what I'm talking about. Let me go ahead and look at this. So what do you think that I don't know about this? It's an echo chamber because I disagree with you? You don't really disagree? We know where you stand? Yeah. So what is this exactly? You create an echo chamber of disagreement? Yeah, sure. Well, I think that also it really depends on what it is. Every time you say you're not against abortion? Yeah, well, let me see what this is. That's me, gay community. I support trans people, but I said trans women have biological advantage. I got banned from LGBT group. Yeah, I think this is a really good example here, right? And so this is kind of like, this is the problem with radicalization, is that gay community, I support trans people, but I said trans women have a biological advantage, and I got banned from an LGBT group. Yeah, there you go. This exact thing happens. Yep, 100%.
How do you get banned for that?
There's no time. I'll give the person like another minute, then I want to move on.
Like that's exactly my point of view. I don't have a problem with trans.
The far right echo chamber. Maybe that's what he's referring to.
You gotta speak the facts. There's.
I think the reason why I have a lot of right-wing people in my chat is because I don't ban them. Most other chats, you get banned for having a lot of right-wing opinions, and I don't ban them. So it would logically make sense that they would come to my chat because they wouldn't get banned here. So because I allow people to have opinions, then I'm considered like an echo chamber? I don't think so. There's a lot of things that add up to why Trump got elected. It's not possible to go over it in a 2-second chat. I give up. You give up because you know that what you're saying is inaccurate. Again, if you want to provide an argument, that's fine. But just calling me stupid and saying that I don't know what I'm talking about isn't really productive, and I don't want to hear that. Sorry. But yeah, of course there were a lot of reasons that people voted for him. I think that's obvious. I mean, anybody could assume that. 1,000 people were arrested in Portland, but 0 were prosecuted, so it's a moot point. They literally burned the city to the ground with 0 consequences. I'd have to look and see what happened, but I think also Portland isn't the only city. Happened all over the country. Yeah, the whole city. Yeah. Portland was not burned to the ground. Yeah, I think so too. No, they paid the rioters millions of dollars. Why IOC is getting banned? Oh, he was just being rude. Looks like he decided not to argue. A lot of people like roach out whenever they get called up for something because they. I think that again, if somebody wants to disagree in a way that I find is patronizing or rude, then I just ban them. You have a lot of new chatters in here from the left just waiting for you to fuck up and they're baiting you. I have no problem with that. It doesn't bother me. To be honest, I'm very relaxed and everything's totally fine. I'm not upset about anything. Everything's been going great. Honestly, like, I think chat's been great. You've got to have, and you're going to have some people that disagree or whatever. That's fine. But overall, I think it's fine. Like, that's what happens. I mean, there's a chat room. There's 50,000 people in the chat. What a surprise that there's going to be some people that are dissenters, some people that are disagreeers, some people that don't see it the way that I see it. So I don't really take this as any sort of like a problem or anything like that. There's just going to be disagreements with anybody because that's how normal people look at things. So I don't really see it being an issue. So yeah, the entire summer of nationwide rioting, and it got dubbed the Summer of Love, but no, someone moved a podium. Well, and so this is what I'm talking about, right? Is that I think there are two sides of unreasonable behavior that are happening that are being kind of put against each other. So basically, I think that everybody who participated in the riots and BLM and actually destroyed property, I think that they should be criminally prosecuted and put in jail. Period. That's it. Like, there's literally no fine print there. And I think also if you went inside the Capitol building and you actually damaged property or you took anything out of the Capitol building, I also think that you should be in jail. Both of these things are true. If you walked out of that building with anything, you need to spend at least a year in jail. It's not even a question. But, and this is the thing, right, is that people play sides with this, but I think that this is actually what most people think. If you entered all of them, yeah. What if they said BLM in the Capitol? Well then, oh yeah, then they can go free, right? And so yeah, that's the way that I see it. What are the chances Zach's been approached by the FBI or some government group and been offered something? I wish they did. That would be great. Yeah, that would be amazing. Jasko is regurgitating, the dude is regurgitating online talking points. Yeah, I think you're right. But if those talking points are believed by a lot of people, then they become real. That's the point. And so, like, and this is the issue that a lot of people have, is they try to make appeals to things like, you know, well, this isn't true, or this isn't accurate, or you're looking at the wrong information. You guys need to understand that we live now in a world where people, like, and this is actually not even true. People have always thought like this. People don't care what your reality is. They care what their reality is. And that's why I've said before, like, the best argument isn't an argument. You can't engage people that have a position on something that is driven by faith or some form of emotion and then expect to reason them out of that position because they never got to that position with reason in the first place. It's an objective reality, yeah. Well, people don't have objective realities. They don't see that. And there's another one, too. I actually forgot to talk about this. But it's how people are, like, breaking into stores and they don't arrest them unless they steal over like $1,000 worth of stuff. I think that there's a lot of people that see videos of like, you know, a handful of people breaking into like a fucking like a Walgreens or a CVS and then just like putting a bunch of shit in a bag and leaving. I think an average person sees that and they say, I want to vote for whatever makes that stop happening. That's it. That ended, didn't it? I'm not sure where it stands right now. Sounds fair? Yeah. And this is the social media.
I think in a normal country, we would say, hold on a second, maybe we need to have a different set of regulations for social media platforms now that they're this big.
It would help if we could regulate social media, because one of the biggest offenders is DC and Congress have not been able to do one thing in regard to the rogue corporations of social media.
And then moves them through YouTube videos, through podcasts, moves them from that annoyance all the way slowly to a full-blown fascist politic. We don't have the equivalent of Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson to move that man in a feminist direction.
Go fuck yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is.
So this is what's happening, is that now that people are mobilizing on social media, because like this guy actually said, I like this guy a lot. Take a look at this.
And here's how we got beat. We got beat because the Republicans and conservatives built a different media system that had to do with online, had to do with podcasts, had to do with streaming platforms, and they were spending their money there. We were laughing at them and knocking on doors in Philadelphia and Detroit. It's like, there's no Trump people. They're not dropping literature. They're not knocking on doors.
Well, in fact, it was laughing like, oh, Elon Musk and Charlie Kirk with their PACs.
We were making fun of Donald Trump for having thrown away his ground game and doing some weird stuff online. We thought that they were idiots. It turned out we were the idiots. We woke up in a body bag because while we were knocking on doors, they were making these phones into 24-hour-a-day political weapons for themselves. And so we got outflanked, outplayed, outbeat by people who told us the whole time that they knew what they were doing. And here...
Yep, he's completely right about everything. Absolutely. And this is why they want to regulate social media. They want to regulate social media so they can view and they can like categorize people that dissent from them as, you know, somehow problematic and then remove them. And this is exactly what used to happen before Elon Musk bought Twitter. That's the reason why they want to regulate it. It's not like they want to regulate it because they're afraid of, you know, any sort of like actual problem. They're not afraid of anything, and to the extent that they are, it is primarily about. Here we go. We'll look at this here too. It's really about how social media provides a meritocracy for information. That's really it. They want control. Yeah, they don't want regulation. They want control. And by the way, I am a very big advocate for social media regulation, just not this kind of regulation.
Particularly the media ecosystem it's not a good one, it's a negative one, it's a radicalization funnel. But what they have done in their online media ecosystem is build a radicalization engine. Literally the way...
Is that Reverend Al Sharpton? I haven't seen him in so long. Damn, I haven't seen him in so long.
Militant groups do around the world that takes people from relatively low-level annoyance.
I hope that these people understand that that radicalization engine Do you know who turns the key to turn the engine on? Is them. They're the ones that are beginning this radicalization process by treating people that disagree with them as if they're like racist or sexist or psychos. That's how it started.
With the world. Why are eggs so expensive? Why is my kid learning this new thing in American history in school that I didn't learn? And then moves them through YouTube videos, through podcasts, moves them from that annoyance all the way slowly, slowly, slowly to a full-blown fascist politics. It's an elaborate...
I don't really think that a lot of people... Wait, what do they mean by fascist politics? What kind of social media regulation do you think is good? For example, I don't think that anybody under the age of consent should be allowed to make an account on social media. Just for example.
I like that.
Multi-billion-dollar infrastructure, and there is nothing like it on the pro-democracy side. We don't have when a man is just lost and lonely and not yet radicalized.
I love how they're talking about how they don't have a media system on TV, on MSNBC. How do you say this? How do you do this? It's amazing.
We don't have the equivalent of Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson to move that man in a feminist direction. By the way, we should educate men.
Well, the reason why is because men reject those people. There are those people out there. Absolutely.
Hold up. What this guy looks like to me? What this guy looks like? You know what this guy looks like? I don't know why, but he looks like this guy. Hold up. I don't know why. I don't know why, but he looks like... Hold up. You know what this guy looks like?
They're out there. It's just...
This guy looks like... What? I don't know why. I'm looking at him and he just reminds me of this guy. I have no idea why. He just randomly reminds me of this guy for whatever reason. I don't know if it's the hair. I don't know if it's the hair. He just looks like a brown version of this guy. I don't know why. Anyway, I don't know.
It's that people don't want to hear that message because they don't think that that message is accurate. It's very simple.
That it's actually really great to live with a strong woman who makes money. It's actually easier. Life is easier. But I think
it's just sad, man. It really is. Joe Rogan was a Democrat? Yeah, I guess so. And Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan used to be liberals? Yeah, I think that's probably true to an extent. And actually, it's not true to an extent. It literally is true. It was true. It is true. I find it to be incredibly fucking hilarious that you have people that are on a nationally syndicated television show that has a 100-year nearly hegemony in like news and politics that are complaining that they don't have a voice. You're not complaining that you don't have a voice. You're complaining that nobody wants to hear what you're saying. That's the real reason why you're mad.
Okay. Oh, man. Said 4 more years, man. Got some 4 more years of Trump. Gonna see some things, man. I'm not gonna lie. The beginning of this video, when he said what he said about, listen, we're trying to set this in motion day one. He said the families of immigrants, of not just immigrants, but illegal immigrants, he's saying that they might get put out on some like mass deportation. So that means that if you're here and you was born here illegally, which that sounds crazy to say, born here illegally, that doesn't even make sense. Right? It's like an oxymoron, right? In a sense, like you're born here as an illegal citizen. If you're born here, then you're a citizen, right? You'll think. But if your family was illegal when they made you, then that means you was born here illegally, I guess. That's where he's coming with it. And he's willing to take not just the illegal parents, but even the kids with him. Oh, that's a scary thing to think about, bro. I'm not gonna lie. That's a scary thing to think about. You know? Because it's like, we think about it, like the kids, I mean, they were born into this situation. They didn't choose it. But then you got people who, I guess when they come here illegally, they figure, hey, if I have kids, if I have a bunch of kids, the kids will be like my safety net. Like, hey, you're not gonna just kick me out, right? I got my kids here. My kids are illegal, right? They were born here, right? So if I have kids in your country, my kids are citizens, right? Because I was born here. So sure, I might not be a citizen, but who's gonna take care of my kids if you kick me out? I guess that's the crutch that most illegals were banking on, but I guess now that's not enough anymore. It's like, all right, well, hey, you take your kids with you. Sounds harsh. I get it, but golly, does that sound harsh? Like, I understand it, but it does sound harsh. You know, so I feel for the families that, if this actually goes through, I feel for the families that this is gonna affect. I feel for them, 100%.